Hello there.
Welcome back, my friend.
Hello, what have we here?
Jedi, we've been expecting you.
Knew I could count on you.
Hello.
Welcome to the rebellion.
What fun!
What's up, everyone? Hybrid here, and today we're taking a look at a brand new Mandalorian figure, this one being the Mandalorian himself in his Pagadon appearance. This is his outfit from the first episode of the show, and it represents how he looks for the first 10 minutes of that episode before he got the Beskar shoulder pad and then rocked that for the next several episodes. So, this is how we see Din immediately walking into that bar on that ice planet. He's hunting down the Mithril, and it's a really iconic scene. And we get that first, I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold, a line that has become legendary among fans of the show. This figure looks really, really good. I'm very excited to take a close look at it. So that said, let's go ahead and take a look at it in the packaging so I can open it up and show you all the goodness going on in here, because this is definitely an upgrade I've been looking for a while. And here he is in the packaging. This is your standard Black Series packaging, so if you've been collecting the line for a bit, there's not much that's going to surprise you, but you get a Black Series logo above a big window showing him and his accessories off nicely. It is number 45 in the Mandalorian lineup, as you can tell by the orange coloring. His name's being the Mandalorian, and then Pagadon in quotes, because that's the planet he was on while wearing this outfit. Warning 4+ Hasbro. This side of the box features some cool artwork of him, and he has the Ragnar Vizsla jumbo visor helmet going on. So interesting art there, but goes down to the Mandalorian written on the bottom. Wraparound window on this side, wraparound stripe, and a Black Series logo. Around back, a zoom in of that side art, a Black Series logo, and then a bio about him in 5 languages. Pause and read whichever language best applies to you. Once more, number 45 in the line. Bunch of legal stuff, Disney Hasbro barcode, more legal stuff, hanger tab up top. Very, very standard stuff. So let's go ahead and open them up and see what's going on here. So here's the Pagadon Mandalorian out of the packaging. Let's go ahead and start by taking a quick look at his accessories. They packed him a little light, not gonna lie. He comes with his always recognizable blaster pistol. This looks very, very nice. It is in a gunmetal gray, dark kind of gray plastic, and the brown handle is painted very, very nicely. It, of course, is instantly recognizable. It is iconic at this point as a fan of the show. He features a working holster that it fits into nicely. Unlike the original figure, there is not a strap that goes over top of it anymore. It is just a snug fit in there. It is not falling out, which is nice. And then Mando comes with his vibro knife, which is a very nice piece. It is in that kind of like silvery gray plastic, so it's not like a painted blade, but I think that's fine. And then the handle is painted that gunmetal gray color. He features a working boot holster for it. It just slips in the side of his boot like so. And then he comes with a swappable right hand. Nice paint on the back plate there. And it is, of course, on those ball-jointed wrists. Black Series is starting to dabble in swappable hands. I don't need a whole ton of them, but this one might be essential for your collection, depending on how you'd like to display them, because now Mando can give you a nice thumbs up. Of course, I am kidding there. This hand has a much tighter grip to it, and this hand is meant for wielding that vibro knife, whereas on the other hand, the hand that is molded more to carry the pistol, it's a much opener grasp, and that knife will just fall through loosely. So it gives you an option if you want to pose them doing knife activities, if you will. But these ball-jointed hands, they come off of a pop, and you're almost afraid that you're potentially damaging something, and they are a rather snug pop back on, but that's okay, as long as you can get it back on, and I haven't damaged any of them yet, so if anything changes there, if that begins to be a trend I start hearing about in the comments, maybe we'll end up talking about that someday on one of my topical videos, but for now, I think that it's a viable technology. So now, looking at Mando, as I mentioned, they used that silver plastic on the blade, and that is what they have done on the helmet here as well. This is not painted. This is that kind of chrome swirly-twirly, like silver plastic, but it doesn't really have the swirly-twirlies in it. It's pretty clean, and I gotta say, it makes it very bright. It makes it very light refractive, and I like it a lot. The issue of them using it on the Jango Fett that very recently came out, and it wasn't even an issue really to me, is, they painted some of the armor, they made some of the armor in this gray color. If they had just used this gray, color for everything, I think it would have looked fine, because I think it's a very fine, passable, viable silver here. If it saves a little bit of paint budget that they can use for other things, and look, there's like a lot of dings and dents going on here, really can't knock it, It features some very nice, subtle weathering, just in the cracks, where, the ridge is over the top, where there's that little crevice, right along the edge, and they have applied a very subtle kind of gray, grime line going in there. Makes that helmet look very lived in, and that's what he does. And then the visor is a very nice glossy black. So I do ultimately really like how that looks. I'm going to bring in the original one. I don't know if it makes it any more exciting to you, but this original one of mine is actually a white box one, and I was like, those will never be rare, and I wanted it, and so I opened it. It was the only one that my store had. What an idiot, am I right? Idiot! But just to give you a initial comparison, there are definitely some differences between the two, but I think overall, when we go through these, I will of course point out the specifics, but I think the new one is very much an improvement. However, there is one obvious thing going on here that is different, being the original one came with, let me unpeg it without knocking him over, the disintegrator rifle, it wasn't a bow rifle, was it? I'm totally blanking on the name, but is a rifle that he melts Jawas with. And I gotta say, it is a little bit unfortunate, because, once he got the Beskar armor, he almost all the time left this thing in the Razor Crest anyway, so it was like him rocking this outfit is kind of where this rifle got the majority of the screen time anyway, and I get it. On Pagadon, he left it on the Razor Crest. He went to get Mithril, and that's probably why they did it. They were like, if we call it Pagadon, we don't have to give you this gun again. However, as unfortunate as it is that Hasbro decided to go cheap and not give us this, and I will issue this as a complaint. If you've been collecting the line for longer than a year, odds are you probably already have a couple Mandos. There have been multi-packs that they have given us a Mando in, and you want to buy that Ahsoka for her cloak, that Amazon one, for instance. You probably have an extra of this rifle or two at this point. So, not saying this how it should be. I'm saying if you really need it for the display, you probably have the gun. Or you're retiring this figure, and then this one can just have this one's gun, because that's going to be my case. This guy's probably going into storage after this review. So, with that said, I will set him aside. It is, it's a figure that I have ultimately, I never disliked it. I wasn't, counting down the days for an upgrade, but this is undeniably an upgrade. My biggest complaint with that old one, right off rip, right after I tore that white box wide open, didn't even cut the tape. It was just like an animal. I think I used my teeth, if memory serves. But, man, what a different time. But, the soft goods cape, this looks excellent. It's obviously newer in this age. It's not so tattered on the edges as you would see on, the Beskar Mando from the Mando and Grogu wave, which dropped the same day this became available in stores at Target. But I love that. Soft good capes, especially on this type of application, I love this. It's always just kind of draped down to the back of his boots anyway. So yeah, this and soft goods all day long. From there, he has all the modern technologies with the butterfly joints underneath of the rubber overlay system for the chest. Going around back, while he never wears one in this outfit, he does include the peg holes for a jetpack. He also has the peg hole for the disintegrator rifle. However, they have taken that out of the strap. On the original one, the strap would lay over there perfectly. So it's interesting that it's still ultimately in this mold. I guess it's nice that they didn't feel the need to remove it, so if you still have that gun, your strap won't necessarily align, but you can still have him rock it, and if you would like him to. He has that nice gray undersuit going on, with the majority of the panels being brown, but they are very, very nice looking, with all these nice little silver dings and dents, looking good. That looks Stormtrooper to me, like Shore Trooper shoulder pad, if you will. And that was his thing. The Durasteel armor was just bits and pieces he was picking up off of things, so that's why he's got the mismatched thigh plates. Something that I totally missed, so retroactively, go back and watch the new Beskar, Mando, and Grogu, like multi-pack one. But he has his 3 grenades on his belt here, and the first one actually unpegs. So, no paint on it, it's just silver. But, silver paint, but, there's no, red, light up on it or nothing. But it's really cool. You could potentially put it in his hand, like he's about to stick it on something, or you can just take it off the belt to make it look like on his mission he's used one. That's really cool. It's one of those things where it's, incredibly subtle, almost unimportant, but, it's a feature. You gotta acknowledge it. Good job, Hasbro. Working our way down the legs, I do like the kind of sand blue knee pad and the plates on the side of the belt there. He has that strap going around this one boot with all the cylinders in it, all the cylinders on the harness there. Just really, really good looking figure. It's very visually exciting. As much as I love the Beskar look, and I think that it's the iconic look for Mando, this is very visually interesting, and you can never deny that. So all that said, let's go ahead and start tearing into some articulation. If you've picked up any Mando figure recently, you're going to be familiar with a lot of this, but this is some of Hasbro's best. He features that double ball neck system where it works on the bottom and the top of the neck. Allows him to look that far up, that far down, gives him side to side, and a ton of pivot on there for all that Mando attitude. You can bring his arms up to a T-pose, where there's a deep butterfly joint in there, and then the arms can 360 at the shoulder, and the shoulder pads are on a ring around the peg in there, so get this strap out of the way first. There we go, push that up on the shoulder, and now those shoulder pads will travel with the shoulder articulation. Very nice. There's no bicep articulation, but there are single jointed elbows that go a little past 90 and then swivel. There is a gauntlet rotation, which is sick, and then as mentioned, those ball jointed wrists go any direction you would like them to. He features that mid-torso ball joint, which allows him to crunch that far forward, not a ton, but it's nice. You can go that far back, also nice. Side to side, and some pivot going on in there. Love to see it. And then the legs can do an almost perfect split. Straight forward, not really much back. He's got too much Mando butt in the way there. There's no thigh cut anymore. They did delete that on this figure. In my opinion, that's an upgrade. I like the knee swivel. But there is some rotation to be had on the ball joint at the hip, so not all is lost if you insist the leg rotates there. That is definitely somewhat possible. But the single jointed knees do go, especially if you push this knee pad down just slightly, a little bit past 90, and then you get your rotation there. As long as the leg rotates somewhere, you're generally all right. There is a boot cut, and then the feet can point pretty far down, pretty far forward, and there's a forward-facing pin for rocker, allowing you to put them into some decently wide stances, which generally make them a little bit more dynamic on the shelf. Here's Mando with a variety of other figures, some rather very old, just to show you that the scale does generally fit. Mando's not super tall, he's rocking right about that kind of average, 5'11", 6 foot height going on. So as you see, he is going toe-to-toe with the Stormtroopers on the right. Also, funnily enough, the Season 1 Remnant Stormtrooper is a Target exclusive, or was back in the day, same as this new Remnant Stormtrooper, same as this Mando. It's kind of like a joke at this point, right? A Target exclusive, a Target exclusive, a Target exclusive, a Best Buy exclusive, and a Walmart peg warmer walk into a bar, right? But no, he does generally look good with some other figures. I think Queel still looks good to date, too. He's a really nice alien sculpt with some limited articulation, but it happens. But IG-12, right? No, IG-12 was the mech version. IG-11. Hasbro, come on. We need a redo of him. Please. Please. So at the end of the day, what do I think of this Pagadon Mandalorian? I think he's awesome. I love this figure. This is an amazing upgrade. It makes me feel not bad in any way about putting that older one into storage after all these years. It still looks good. Don't get me wrong. Objectively, that old one is sculpted very, very nicely, but there are some dated things. Those pinned double jointed knees, that are ugly. That thigh cut, not a big fan of that. This figure really takes him and upgrades him and makes him look like a vastly superior figure. And that's where Hasbro is. Some people are still mad about things that happened 10 years ago in this figure line. gotta learn to let go, man, because these new figures, this whole wave of Mando and Grogu stuff, this guy, the whole wave with Jedi Dooku and Quinlan Voss and toe articulation, Book of Boba Fett and Jango Fett. I mean, Hasbro has really been giving us some phenomenal stuff this year. I don't understand how in the year 2026 we have Black Series haters, but it's because they're old news, my guy. Because the Black Series is back. This is a great year to be a collector of the line. So I'm going to go work on something else now. We have so many cool 2-packs that are going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks of reviews. Keep an eye out, of course, because that is going to be my focus now that I have gotten through my pile of single packs, because we have been bombarded lately. So keep an eye out. Lots of fun reviews coming. May the Force be with you. I look forward to seeing you in the comment section of this one, the next one, and the last one. So until I meet you there, have a good day.